Coming live from our studios in Belize City, this is the evening news on Love Television for today, Wednesday, August 10th. We get you started with a look at the stories making the headlines today. History made as Supreme Court rules Section 53 is unconstitutional. We get reactions from both sides. Melissa Ferguson charged for abetment to kidnapping. Attorney General addresses situation at Vital Statistics Department, and workshop focuses on cyber crimes. We have details of these stories and much more coming up after the break.
I pay BEL because my family's access to electricity matters. I pay BWS because my family's access to clean water matters. I pay KHMH because my family's access to the country's highest level of healthcare matters most.
When you pay your bill at Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital, it ensures that our doors remain open and that we are able to provide our highest level of care to you. Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital. We take care of you.
The circle starts with solid support and a smile. This is real life, with its ups and its downs. This is going the extra mile, and the feeling you get when you can help someone along their journey. Through the twists and turns, we're here. This is Western Union, making sure your support reaches its destination. This is Western Union, moving money for better.
Look for a Zetro location near you, because Zetro gives you more.
It's been a hard day at work, but a great day. Tomorrow will be a new day for all of us on this rig. You know what? It will be a new day for all of us at B&E. And when we dream big enough, a new day for all of us in Belize. The oil fields in the west are a far cry from Maskell Road, where I grew up. They say that people are the same everywhere. Well, maybe. But I know there is something different about my guys. There is pride in what they do. All they want is an honest day's pay for an honest day's work. And boy, do they work hard. We are proud to work at B&E. We know we have contributed to the building of our country. A few years ago, there was nothing here. Look at what we have built. We build with pride and passion, but we also build with precaution. Al over there says this land is borrowed from our children, and we need to keep it clean. Well, it's second nature now. That's just how we do business around here. Tomorrow is a new day. We will push the work again. We will continue building our country. Belize needs to grow, though. Belizeans just need the opportunity, and we will transform this nation of ours. We can rebuild our highways, have more reliable locally produced electricity, and develop our ports so we can export to the world. As Belizeans, the hard work we do will continue to put food on the table, keep our families healthy, and put our kids through school. But it has to be about more than that. It must be about an invincible vision backed up with hard work. When we dream big, the possibilities are endless. Of that, I am sure. In this country, we have done it before. We will do it again. I am Terrence Reed, and I am a driller at BNE.
We rely so much on the internet. Shouldn't it be effortless? With Smart 4G LTE, experience an uncomplicated, smooth, accessible network of speed and reliability. Changing the face of mobile internet in Belize. Smart's 4G LTE has low-cost packages to suit your personalized internet needs, starting at only $35. And also offers specialized social media packages for as little as $15 for an entire gig. Dial Star Data to purchase a package. Visit your nearest Smart showroom or visit us online for more information.
You know, I really need to go buy some curtain rods. Oh, no, I could get some pretty ones.
I know a part you can get some good rods. You want to carry that builders?
Okay.
You may get a curtain rod then, darling.
Builders Hardware, your home improvement warehouse.
Carl Huchner Memorial Hospital is your national referral hospital, providing premium healthcare services to the nation. Over 180 nurses and 70 doctors are a part of a team of 600 persons dedicated to taking care of you. Our services include medical imaging, pharmacy, specialist clinics, and a cardiac catheterization laboratory. Our maintenance, housekeeping, and dietary units play a vital role in the functioning of the KHMH.
We are the only hospital in the country that offers physiotherapy services. We deliver over 2,400 babies per year.
We see over 36,000 people per year.
We offer the most meaningful intensive care services in the country.
Operating Theatre does over 300 cases a month.
Here at Myra in Sylvester Laboratory, we provide all our laboratory needs.
We have the only neonatal intensive care unit in the country of Belize, where we ensure that preemies get a chance at life.
Carl Hushner Memorial Hospital.
We take care of you.
Good evening. With the Wednesday edition of Love Television's Evening News, I am Ernesto Vasquez. Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin made his much-anticipated ruling in the case brought by Caleb Orozco challenging Section 53 of the Criminal Code. Reporter Ingrid Fernandez was at the Supreme Court and she filed this report.
In 2010, Caleb Orozco brought a case challenging Criminal Code 1981, Section 53 of Belize, which reads, "Every person who has carnal intercourse against the order of nature with any person or animal shall be liable to imprisonment for 10 years. This morning, Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin was to hand down the much-anticipated ruling. Outside the Supreme Court, about 70 church members from Orangeoak, Belmopan, Belize City, and Dangrigam, representing both the evangelical and Catholic churches, convened at the Battlefield Park demonstrating. A lone supporter of the LGBTQI community stood in direct opposition of the protesters from the churches. Inside the courtroom, church leaders, including Pastor Scott Sturm, and LGBTQI leaders like Erica Castellanos, sat side by side. The police kept watch outside the courtroom to ensure order. After an hour and a half of reading historical precedent, Chief Justice Benjamin ruled in favor of amending Section 53 to exclude consensual sex between adults in private. An elated Caleb Orozco spoke with the media outside the courtroom.
I have to say I am extremely elated. And I'm so elated, I'm speechless right now. But because today is really, really important, I will ask you guys to join me at UWI for 2 o'clock to do a more extensive discussion. And I would hope that you all could make it for 2 o'clock. This is huge for me, so I need to be more speechful rather than speechless.
Senior counsel for the case, Lisa Showman, spoke about the statutes that were upheld in the ruling.
I think we won on all the points that we had asked the Chief Justice to rule on. The offending section 453 has been read down, which means that it will be amended to exclude any acts between consenting adults in privacy. That is the essence of the ruling. So the look of Section 53 will change. The court has the power to do that.
Executive Director of CNET, Erica Castellanos, shared how the change of statute will affect the lives of the LGBTQI community.
It has many implications. For once and for all, we don't have to be hiding. We can openly say who we are and who we love and what is our lifestyle. But also in regards to HIV prevention, for example, the obstacles that were presented and what was discussed in the courtroom, it will help do HIV prevention better and have more tools to prevent HIV in the country. I feel very satisfied. I feel very happy, and it's a very emotional moment because this is something we've been waiting for. And I think it's a moment of celebration for the whole LGBT family and for everybody, because this is a law that does not concern only LGBT persons.
Strong opposing sentiments to the ruling came immediately from church leaders. Pastor Lance Lewis was representing the National Evangelical Association of Belize.
The church believes in marriage between a man and a woman, and therefore sex between a man and a woman is what the church believes. To make a law now that strike out the law that says it's okay to have sex between male and male, female and female, is against the word of God. It is, in my mind, against the original constitution of Belize, and therefore it will bring all type of ills on our society. We already have several problems this year, storms of different types and maybe more. And I think the only thing that can happen, the church is not going to get up and throw stones, but we have to get on our knees and pray that God will bring about a revival, God will bring about a change, because this is an abomination.
Initially, Unibam had filed the case along with Caleb Orozco, but the Chief Justice ruled that Unibam could not be a party but a stakeholder. Following the ruling, Unibam held a press conference to go more into the ruling. They also read a statement from the Special Envoy for Women and Children, Kim Simplice Barrow, who stated, "It is a great day for Belize. It is a great day for human rights, one step closer to dignity and the respect we all deserve." Leader of the Maya Leaders Alliance, Christina Cox, stated, "We are equally responsible to ensure state accountability to protect the human rights of all and not some." Reporting for Love News, I am Ingrid Furlow.
After the favorable ruling given this morning by Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin to amend Section 53 of the Criminal Code of Belize 1981 to exclude consensual sex between adults in private, Unibam held a press conference. Senior Legal Counsel Lisa Schumann and Wesman James spoke about the ruling.
The court held in its groundbreaking decision that, first of all, that Caleb had legal standing to bring this case before the courts. Furthermore, that the court has the right to review legislation and strike down where it's appropriate to do so, or modify it where it's appropriate to do so. And then he found that Caleb's right to human dignity, privacy, equality before the law, equal protection of the law, and freedom of expression were breached.
Along with our international and national obligations, is what gives us the underpinning for our rights. So one of the most cutting edge things to come out of this, and it may have escaped some, is the interpretation in Section 16.3 of the word sex. When you're talking about discrimination, you are no longer allowed to discriminate against anyone on the basis of their sexual orientation. The Chief Justice actually expressed in his decision the view that sex also meant sexual orientation. So that is extremely far-reaching, and it will affect, I think, most naturally the transgendered community in Belize. So,
Executive Director of Unibam, LGBTQI activist Caleb Orozco, spoke about the struggle he went through to have his rights upheld. He also spoke about what the government can do to assist the community.
What you realize in any social movement is that the people who feel the pain or who feel marginalized or who carry fear must step up and defend those ideals. Otherwise, nobody else will do it for you. I personally have sacrificed, despite violence, intimidation, threats, and constant security issues, to stay the course to ensure that we completed this case. Not so much that I will benefit from the decision, but for the next generation who must be free, and to give state system a chance to take their fiduciary responsibility serious and stop excluding us from the protection. If the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, which has supported gender policy, and the Prime Minister in particular, was serious about the state not shirking its responsibility, that it would not seek to appeal this judgment, and that it would open itself up to understand better the issues that affect its LGBT citizens in a very constructive and responsible way.
Opposing sentiments came from the church this morning, but Caleb Orozco spoke about support that he has gotten from churches.
Representatives from the Methodist Church, the head of the Evangelical Association, Pastor Logsworth, as well Representative Cannon Flowers. We tried to explain what the issues were around discrimination and violence. And Pastor Logsworth was kind enough to see that the church's responsibility was to respond to our concern with compassion and love. With regards to that, he was kind enough to share that he do not share the extremism of his counterparts.
One of the fears spoken about this morning by church leaders is that the favorable ruling this morning might propel an amendment legalizing same-sex marriage. Caleb Orozco spoke about the community's intention in regards to that issue.
My community wants to fight for gay marriage. We now know that they have every right to go to court and litigate the issue. My organizations are concerned with socioeconomic, civil, and political rights issue of the community.
Such an exciting day for us within the LGBTIQ community, and words cannot begin to express how myself, Caleb, and everyone feels about this day.
Senior Counsel Lisa Schumann thanked various members and organizations that assisted them on the journey to the ruling. These included the legal team at the University of the West Indies, Professor Tracy Robinson and Professor Arif Balkan, to name a few. A notable number of law enforcement members were present at the Supreme Court this morning, while Chief Justice Kenneth Benjamin was handing down the ruling for the Caleb Orozco case. We asked Assistant Commissioner of Police Chester Williams about the security personnel and his opinion on the ruling.
We know that there are persons from both sides who have their own issues and their own concerns, and the police are just out here to ensure that law and order is enforced, that no one overreact and commit a breach of the law. So we're just here to maintain law and order, basically.
Was there a substantial fear that this might get violent or aggressive?
Well, we have no information that would have been the case, but as a police department, we believe in being proactive in what we do, and so we're out here to make sure that things run smoothly. Well, I think the Chief Justice was thorough in his rulings, and his judgment was based on legal principles. And as an attorney, I personally do not see any issue with his judgment. I think it's a perfect one.
On Monday, August 8, we told you of Melissa Ferguson handing herself into the Belmopan police station in the company of her lawyer, Richard Dickey Bradley. After extensive questioning by the police, Ferguson was detained by the investigators. She spent the entire Tuesday in detention, and this afternoon she was spotted going into court to be arraigned. Attorney Bradley was on hand to give the media an interview following the arraignment.
She was charged sometime after 11 o'clock this morning at the Belmopan police station with a single count of conspiracy. She conspired to commit kidnapping. You were in court, so you heard some of the arguments that she conspired to commit kidnapping against no one. The court had to enter the arena and say to the prosecution, I, man, at least need to put one name, at least one name. So a short while ago, they came back with an amendment to the charge sheet itself to add two names. The name of one person who really does not want his name to be called around, and another person who at this stage he is not really care whether his name is called or not. It's all about optics. I learned a new word from the Prime Minister. It's all about optics. You can't say from early after the most unfortunate and gruesome death of Pastor Lucas that you are looking for somebody or that you wanted to speak to somebody. The person comes forward, you detain them for 48 hours, and 48 hours, 10 minutes afterwards, you give them a charge sheet. After you told them you'll go home, it's okay, we just need to clarify some matters and so on. So instructions came down to the police that charge that lady regardless. You notice she was not charged for murder, she was not charged for kidnapping, and who will come to say that she was conspiring, planning to kidnap, because she's upstairs in her house and Pastor Luke came to the house for a few minutes. That meant somehow. You saw what was happening, they don't have any evidence. She's as shocked as she can be to hear that in fact they would charge her. From all the advice she got, not from only myself and others, that there is no way they could link her with the murder, or no way they could link her with the kidnapping. She was forthright and told the police that I was at home and that I did see Pastor Lou come. And as I said to you, they told her their word is not good. They told her, Mom, you'll go home. You just need to just tie up a couple loose ends.
Love News understands that William Mason will be in the Belmopan Magistrates Court on Thursday to face additional charges. Ferguson was remanded to the Belize Central Prison. And while Melissa Ferguson will be spending some time at the Belize Central Prison, her husband, William Mason, is outraged at the situation, as he explained to Love News via telephone this afternoon.
Me and my wife and my guys need a lot of help right now. We've been detained for wrong reasons because of the information that I hold, against the government and others. Okay, and if I can get my side of the story out to the public, the general public, at least the people at large deserve to know the truth. My story needs to be heard, and right now I heard my wife is going to be charged for conspiracy, and she has nothing to do with this. Yeah, and this is not fair, for her, and all of us sitting in here, and I think we've been more and more set up.
As we mentioned, Mason will be facing additional charges in the Belmopan court on Thursday. Melissa Ferguson will spend her first night in prison tonight, and her future is now unknown. According to her attorney, Richard Dickey Bradley, it was not her expectation that she would have been charged, as it was not the idea she had gotten in conversations held prior to her handing herself over to the authorities.
My understanding is that her instructions from the other attorneys was that the suddenness of what had transpired on Friday, the information that came out, she would not have anybody that she could say, well, come and stay with me or so on. The lawyers, the advisor, in the circumstances of what was happening, that, for Belize, that is probably, well, I'm not sure. They had chopped up a priest in Benke one time when I probably wasn't born as yet. But for Belize, it's a very shocking, frightening matter that somebody would remove the head of a pastor from his body. And I imagine in the circumstances of what was happening, the lawyers advised her, it is not safe for you to stay at your home. We're coming for you. We will take you somewhere safe until we can get a clear understanding of what is transpiring so that you can clear yourself.
As it relates to the Outback Ranch on the George Price Highway, Bradley says Ferguson had expressed heartbreak at the condition of her farm, especially the horses.
I was bringing her to the Belmopan police station Monday morning. We did stop and take a look, and it is a hurtful scene to see the horses, especially the horses. I'm a dog and a horse fan, and the horses, they look like they're not eating. And tears came to her eyes. Some of those horses are special to her. I see the horses that Geronimo used to like riding, the Pinto horses. It's a shame. There's nobody to look after the farm. They're trying to, perhaps I imagine workers have gone off and all kinds of things, but it's there to see. It's a concern for her. That is a big concern for her. While she was out on the phone, she was getting some of the previous workers to try and go and assist, and then of course a storm came along.
One of the burning questions on some minds is, why didn't she just leave the country since she's not of Belizean descent and she had a valid passport?
It says something to her credit, and it should have said something to those who came up with this last-minute bogus charge on her, that, listen, if I knew for a moment there was the slightest way in which they could link me with anything, why would I, a Canadian citizen, Canada is a Commonwealth country like ours, she could have long been gone the very next day, the night. So that is an excellent question, and it highlights the fact that here is somebody who knew she was entirely innocent of what transpired. She absolutely knew nothing, and it was as shocked as anybody else to hear. And just first time I met her and was trying to get some sense of what was happening, she just keeps saying, I can't believe this has happened. I saw Pastor Lucas that day. Something went wrong, something has gone wrong. But you have asked the question, if I know I do something and I can go home to my country, why am I here going through this embarrassment, this ill treatment, this that she has been subjected to.
Unless you can't go home to your country.
Well, there is no evidence of that at all. And she is a member of a Commonwealth country. She can go to any other Commonwealth country. But that is an excellent question. And in fact, it begged the question that the law allowed that she was entitled to be granted bail. Bail is not to be used to punish anybody, because the arguments being put to the magistrate to say, listen, put her in prison because, well, one serious crime come on. They even called Mason name as to try and poison the magistrate's mind. As you hear Mason, no better that. You understand? So that is to her credit, that she stayed here, that when she made contact with me, I told her the procedure is, you can go to any other police station. I called the Director of Public Prosecutions, I called the Acting Commissioner of Police, I called Joseph Myvitt, who is in charge of national crimes in the country, and they said, fine, you can bring her in, you know this is a bad time, let us do it on Monday, and so on. And I had said to her, listen, you can go to Mexico and then go home, you can fly from Cancun, nobody's looking for you, there's no Interpol wanting you, nobody's looking for you. No, she has her property, she has her business, she has her life, and she has said over and over she is innocent and knows nothing of what transpired. Absolutely. And whenever that day comes, you will be around to see that a court of law will absolutely exonerate her.
It is unknown where Ferguson had taken refuge since July 15, 2016. So tonight's update is that Melissa Ferguson is now on remand at the Belize Central Prison. William Mason is looking to face additional charges. So is the media flogging a dead horse by following up on the allegations and the speculations in the Mason saga? Today we asked the Attorney General, Vanessa Rittridge, to comment on the entire situation surrounding Mason and his accusations against government officials.
Referred to as untoward behavior, that's the first thing. I think that the Mason horse has been flagged, and I would rather leave it there. I think that enough has been said, and I have no other comment on that issue. I think every minister has been asked about this issue. They've given extensive responses, and I think Mr. Mason has been charged with murder, and rather than continue to discuss his notoriety, we should leave him as a person being charged with murder, and that is where it should lie.
But aren't you at all concerned about the allegations being made against government officials?
No, I'm not. I'm not. I feel that when people are put in a desperate situation, there are many things that they will do to try to get themselves out of that situation. And I think until allegations and all these wild aspersions that are put in the public domain are proven, I don't really pay any attention to it.
The issuance of a birth certificate to William Mason stating that he was born in Crooked Tree Village, Belize District, was another revelation that came out following the discovery of the head of Pastor Lewin Lucas, who facilitated him with that official document. As we noted in a previous newscast, the matter had been handed over to the police, and there are 4 suspects in that investigation. Today we asked Attorney General Vanessa Rittridge to update us on this aspect of the entire situation.
You would better be able to get information in relation to that from the registrar. She has spearheaded that investigation, and she will be more able to give you details of that investigation and what she has done and not done so far.
Is that something that you pushed?
Well, the Vital Statistics Unit is on my portfolio, and so it is something that I did consult with the registrar on, but the registrar really is the one that has pushed that and ensured that what needs to be done is done.
The birth paper listed Mason's parents as Sharon Tillett and James Mason. In a recent press conference, Prime Minister Dean Barrow announced that among the changes made to his cabinet, he would be handing the Lands Department and its ministry to Attorney General Vanessa Rittridge. Rittridge has not been a public figure and has yet to speak on what she brings to the table in the Lands Department. So with that in mind, we asked her the question.
For the public, that I will work hard and diligently. I have always done that in whatever I do, and that is what I expect to continue. The no-nonsense approach for me applies throughout, whether it's private practice, public sector, and so I intend to continue precisely as I am doing now.
The official handing over is yet to be had, as Ratridge is yet to be sworn in as a senator to take over the ministerial portfolio. Today was the start of an Internet Governance Forum. One of the issues coming up in the discussion is cybersecurity. Anyone who uses the Internet would be able to attest to the obscene content that is being put up by several users with no thought of privacy, dignity or discretion. Bevel Wooding, whose work surrounds the use of Internet, told Love News that there is more to be done on the issue of cybercrime.
This forum has increased in its importance over the years. So it has moved from looking at the implications of the Internet for the Caribbean to addressing specific issues that impede the growth of the Internet and impede the development that the Internet ought to facilitate in the region. So it has looked at issues such as privacy, cybersecurity, net neutrality. All of these are terms that come up in fora like these, and the issues around these issues, child safety online, for example, all of these are international Internet governance issues. Remember, Internet governance, if you think about it, is how do we manage, how do we oversee, how do we administer, how do we govern the use of the Internet in our jurisdiction.
In speaking with the Attorney General Ratridge, she told Love News that combating cybercrime is a point of interest for her, and the work has begun in putting in laws in place to hold persons responsible for the manner in which they use technology.
The thing that we need to understand is that it's not only a conference focusing on cheaper internet and more access to the internet, but it's also a conference focusing on internet governance and the policies and the legal framework that we put in place to govern the use of the internet. In Belize, you're certainly right, and it affects the entire Caribbean, and it's an issue for all of us, that we have been slow in implementing legislation to govern internet use. And so a conference like this, and you will see on the agenda for the next 2 days, it discusses cybercrime and how to combat cybercrime and effective policies that we can put in place. And so the interest from an Attorney General's perspective, from a legislative perspective, is that in relation to this conference. And so I intend to gather information to push for cybercrime legislation to be put in place in Belize, because it's certainly an area of interest to me and it's something that needs to be done. So that is why I'm here today. We don't have specific legislation targeting Facebook, use of Facebook, for instance, social media. We have nothing specific. We would have to revert to the criminal code, the libel and slander laws, that sort of thing. But in relation to specific legislation governing the use of technology and the internet, no.
Ratridge is the first woman to be appointed as the Attorney General for Belize. Her role is to be the principal legal advisor to the government. The Chickabel Forest Reserve is a space remotely located from the populated areas of Belize. The location has led to very little attention being given to the area, and that is where the Friends for Conservation and Development became a factor. The FCD has been working tirelessly and appealing to the Belizean government and people to pay attention to the deterioration of the forest via incursions being committed by the Guatemalans. In a flyover done with the Belizean and Guatemalan media today, Derek Chan, who manages the Chickabel Forest Reserve, spoke on the current conditions being faced.
What is important about this flight is because we want to create awareness to the people of Belize, to the government of Belize, to everyone, that that indeed we continue to have these agricultural incursions, and there is a lot being done, and there is a lot more that can be done. But it is important because creating the awareness, it helps us, generate support from people, and also, to really, start to get, cracking down on this problem that we have had, for the past 30 years.
Chan says that for this year there has been an increase in the incursions in the Sabada area. It is speculated that the increase in incursions is being caused by the demographics in the area, particularly the Guatemalan village that is adjacent to the Sabada area.
we see certain trends, and it has to do with droughts, it has to do with people movement, demographic movements. All the agriculture incursions in the Chiquibul forest are caused by people living in settlements in our neighboring Guatemala, the Petén, right? We are 100% sure of that. So whatever happens, there, let's say in Guatemala, if there is a drought, if there is a, movement of people, we cannot really exactly tell, how what makes it to change. But there are some years that agriculture will be higher than other years. And then we also conduct our patrols. Our patrols also help and reduce, these incursions. But we have to be strategic, prepared to start patrolling January. If we didn't patrol January, February, and March, that means that there's going to be a lot of burning. If we go patrol there in August, September, October, it's like almost no use. We need to do it January, February, March. But 3 years ago, we saw little encroachments of slash and burning. Last year, it was not too bad. But this year, it was much higher than last year. So this year, what we have seen is 338 hectares more increase from last year. And we could see this because we monitor this every year through satellite imagery, so we can tell when it goes up and when it goes down. So for us, it's alarming because we saw a sudden or an aggression this year of the incursions, no? And particularly this happened in the area we call Cebada. All right, so we have Rio Blanco Conservation Post and Valentin Conservation Post. In between, there's like about 20 miles. Right about half of that, like around 10 miles, that's where this big incursion started this year.
Monitoring is a challenge as it is a vast area, and Chan says that by the time they get to one area and leave, the culprits return to extract the resources.
Know that it is because we do not have a lot of presence there. We conduct patrols there, but seldom. We go there, and by the time we go back, then these people have a chance to come back and destroy forests. The area is so big, and it really requires monitoring. Aerial monitoring, for example, we're doing today is good, but the plane can only fly over, and we cannot really land or assess much. This flight, and hopefully we can do another one before the end of the year. But by the end of the year, I will see what is green. What has recovered, what is green, and I will take that picture and compare it as January comes. January I start to fly, and then I could tell, because you can tell when there is underbrushing. People start to underbrush first, so that they cut the big trees, and that you can see from the plane. So when we see that, then it's time to go and address that particular area. But really, it's January. January comes, we got to be on the ground. And for this, we require the support of the joint forces, of the Forest Department, and the Belize Defense Force. So we also, we also want to work this year with them, more strategic and get them to be able to compromise to go out with us, on time. Because if we do not get their support, then we FCD, we cannot do it alone, because these areas are, for one, they are dangerous, they're far away, you require a lot of people on the ground, a lot of boots on the ground. So that's how it works now.
For a view of what the Chiquibul Forest Reserve looked like in today's flyover, you can log on to our website at lovefm.com. The 12th annual conference focusing on internet governance in the Caribbean is underway at the Radisson Fort George Hotel in Belize City. It is a conference aimed at improving the way the Caribbean accesses the internet and to look at the various forms of economic development and entrepreneurship benefits that can be had. Bevel Wooding is an internet strategist at Packet Clearing House in the U.S. He has been crucial to discussions surrounding the internet and Belize's use and access for over a decade. In speaking with Love News this morning, he took us back to 2004 when the framework came about and why.
For us to understand the importance of what's happening here today and what will be happening over this week, we have to pull the veil back and look at what started it all. 12 years ago, the Caribbean community, CARICOM, which is essentially the grouping of Caribbean countries, English-speaking Caribbean countries, asked the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, an international, a regional telecommunications policy-making body, to look at this emerging issue of the internet and what it means for the Caribbean. And the first forum that sat to look at those issues, what's happening with the internet, what does this mean for economic development, for social development, that first Caribbean Internet Governance Forum was convened to explore the ramifications of the internet for the Caribbean. Since that time, there has been a global Internet Governance Forum looking at the same issues, but the Caribbean actually began first. And what came out of that initial discussion was a document, a framework that identified the priority issues for the Caribbean. Fast forward to where we are today, 12 years onward, many things have changed. The internet is now more pervasive. More people have access to it. More businesses, more governments, more community groups rely on the internet for all kinds of things, from contacting family members overseas to conducting business, local and internationally. So the internet has changed as a force for development across the board in the region.
Wooding also told us how our locally based infrastructure could aid in the information gathering process within Belize.
Very quality of the internet experience that any user will have is a function of to what extent has internet infrastructure been built out locally, or to what extent are they relying on internet infrastructure that has been built out in someone else's jurisdiction. Let's bring it into a local context. For Belize has recently established an internet exchange point. It has provided a place where local service providers can interconnect their network at no cost. And that means that any traffic moving between local ISPs is now able to pass without the ISPs having to worry about how expensive it is, if the network pipes are cluttered, how much traffic is being moved. All of these are concerns that they will have to have when they're moving traffic across expensive international networks. But now with the local IXP, providers can say, well, this is a local service. I'm going to use the IXP to deliver this local service. And I'm going to be able to deliver as much of it as often as I want without having to worry about how much traffic is passing between my network and my competitor's network, because we are all on the Belize exchange point. If at that exchange point you put a Google cache, it means all of the YouTube videos can live on the exchange point and be accessed by all of the local ISPs without them having to worry about who's watching which video of which cat playing with which ball and how is that affecting network traffic, because all of a sudden it's local. It's no longer going to Miami or going to New York or going to London to get that video to bring it back into Belize. So nobody has to block YouTube videos because they're all here and they're all accessible for free. Multiply that by any other kind of content coming and living at the exchange point, whether it's government content, the forms that you use to register for your passport or your driver's permit, the application that you use to pay your taxes, living at the exchange point. It means no matter how much stuff you have to upload or download, if it's at the local exchange point, access is now a lot more convenient, a lot more stable, a lot more affordable than it would be if it were living on a foreign server. You're in the media. If the media had to host its television content or its radio content, it's one proposition to host it overseas. It's much more attractive for local consumers to be able to access that content if it were hosted locally.
Today was the soft launch of the 12th Caribbean Internet Governance Forum, with the next 2 days planned for interactive discussions under the theme Accelerating Caribbean Internet Development. The event is organized jointly by the Public Utilities Commission and the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. Many Belizeans using the northern border at Santa Elena have complained about having to check in at the Immigration Department, even though they are not leaving the country. One man who has been very vocal in voicing his displeasure is Rene Cuello. He has been urging officials to revisit the existing laws so Belizeans who will be going to the Corozal-free zone or the casinos do not have to check in with immigration and having to get their passports stamped. To further get his message across, Cuello is spearheading an excursion to the border point this weekend. He told us more about it.
The objective is to show the authorities of immigration that we as Belizeans have a constitutional right to leave and enter Belize, no? That is the objective of it, to show the country of Belize that they cannot be, a chance people, they harass your own people, because sometimes people reach there and their permit is expired or it is full of stamps, and then they return you. You can't cross. And sometimes they are only going to the casino or to the free zone. And it has happened to a lot of people, and that is the objective of it. And not to be afraid to come into your country is one of them, because it has happened to me. I went across the border, and when I was coming back, I was afraid to come into my own country because of the change of administration in the immigration point, no?
Cuello said it is his hope that the law will be changed to take into account the inconvenience Belizeans have to go through.
Hope to accomplish to get rid of the stamping system that we have. It's an old law, right, that is in place from 1949, and no government has done anything about it. We, the Belizean people, we suffer when we go to the border, no? They harass us, they do all that kind of thing. They have arrested Belizeans, they put them in a little cell because they didn't stamp. How can you do your own people coming in their country? Coming in their own country. You're supposed to be protected by your country when you come in, not being harassed and threatened to be thrown in a cell and charged. They charge you about $1,000, just like an illegal immigrant. We want to get rid of that law.
We spoke to an immigration official who told us that while he understands the concerns, officers are only abiding by the law which specifies that anyone crossing the departure control point must present themselves. He further stated that the location of the immigration building is not ideal, however, they must work with what they have. For Belizeans who have an issue with the many stamps in their passports, he recommends they get a border crossing card. A drowning incident has been reported in St. Bite village in the Stan Creek district. On Tuesday afternoon, Placencia police visited the Mainstay Resort Pier in the Oxtonville area of St. Bite village, where 23-year-old Gilbert Paulino reported that around 1:30 yesterday afternoon, he and 36-year-old Tedford Augustine, also of St. Bite village, went fishing some 4 miles off the Mainstay Resort Pier in the village in a small canoe. The canoe reportedly capsized and Paulino managed to reach to shore while Augustine went under and did not resurface. A search party was organized but was unsuccessful. The lifeless body of a male person was found near a main road junction in the Toledo district. We hear more from correspondent Paul Mahong.
Police Station Sergeant Jason Rivero spoke to Love News.
On Tuesday, the 9th of August, at approximately 5:50 p.m., Punta Gorda police received information of a body lying in the bushes near the San Pedro Colombia junction with San Antonio Road. As a result, police visited the scene where they observed a Mayan descent male person lying face up in the bushes approximately 20 feet from the edge of the road. The male person was wearing a blue t-shirt and a long black pants. No visible sign of injuries was observed on the body. The scene was processed by scenes of crime personnel, where the body was transported to the Punta Gorda Town Hospital. The doctor stated that the person was dead for at least 12 hours. Body was later identified as Bartolo Chiak, 42 years old, farmer of Blue Creek Village, Toledo District. The body now lies at the Punta Gorda Town Hospital morgue where it awaits a postmortem examination.
Sergeant Jason Rivero. The location where the lifeless body of Bartolo Chiok was found, near the main road junction, is located approximately 16 miles up Punta Gorda San Antonio Road. Reporting for Love News, Paul Mahong, Punta Gorda.
Today, after hearing closing addresses from counsels for the defense and the prosecution, the trial judge, Justice John Gonzalez, in the trial of 21-year-old Curtis Lamb, charged with the murder of Justin Roches, has reserved his decision for a date to be announced. Roches was shot and killed on August 3, 2011, at the basketball court of Gwen Lizarraga High School, located on Antelope Street Extension. The Crown, represented by Crown Counsel Shaniza Smith, alleged that Lamb and Michael Main had an altercation in which Lamb was beaten by Main, and Lamb left and returned with a pistol with which he fired several shots, and Roches was shot 3 times. Main testified that he saw Lamb fire the shots. Lamb gave a statement from the dock in which he denied that he committed the offense. Lamb had given a caution statement to the police in which he admitted that he was a shooter. But in a voir dire which was held to determine the admissibility of the statement, Lamb testified that he was beaten by the police to give the statement. At the end of the voir dire, Justice Gonzalez ruled that the statement was admissible as evidence. Lamb was represented by attorney Anthony Sylvester. The police department is often seen as a stern agency charged with maintaining law and order in the community. Assistant Commissioner of Police Chester Williams, however, has a different approach that he believes can help maintain law and order. While on a meat and feed food delivery activity, he shared those views with Love News.
We look at our motto, the police and the community working in partnership for a safer Belize. That has been our motto from time immemorial, but the question was always whether the police department was doing enough to meet that motto. And I think that in the past we were not. But now you have seen where we have taken community policing to another level, where we're doing as much as we can to be able to bridge that gap between us and the community. And we are reaching out to the communities as much as we can, doing some positive initiatives, because when we do foolishness, it is always out in the public, and equally we like that when we do good, that the public see the good that we do. For me, community policing is my #1 priority. And as I've always said, that policing must be done from a dual approach, in the sense that we must have the soft side and we must have the tough side. And as a department, we must be able to balance the way how we interact with the public. The first approach must always be that soft side, and when the soft side fails, then we introduce the tougher side.
Assisting ACP Williams in this community effort were 2 young men who were engaged in criminal activity. Tyrone Main spoke about the struggle of living a life of crime in the streets of Belize City.
Well, that crime, no pay, crime. Everybody went in the street life right now, and I advise them to come in the street life right now, because you know, pay, we have to try hard out there to live. If we want to drive a car out there, we have to work hard out there. And everything out there, hard. Belize government not giving nothing right now like that. You understand? So if you make it try to rob at the thief, and then you want to spend time in jail, and you know, if I personally give you advice to stay in a school, I try to finish 6th form, I try to make something out of the life. Because me personally, I'm not starving or nothing like that, but personally I have to do what I need to do to survive.
Angel Woods shared what motivates him to help in the activities organized by ACP Williams to see Belize City streets rid of crime and violence.
Continue to do what we do, Mr. Williams, because the crime slow down, and I feel more better knowing that I don't have to go bury none of my friends or nothing, or I have to really watch out there kind of way there right now. The police there, the guide we, the security we 24/7. We just continue to work with Mr. Williams and make sure everything continue just like how it go. We are trying for we best, we don't broke this up. Try to go shoot nobody out there. We just stand firm and work with Mr. Williams, tell everything work out the right way how we want it.
ACP Williams is conducting interventions with the young men mentioned and others. 80 cases of Belikin beer were reportedly confiscated in Melchor de Mencos, Guatemala yesterday. 2 Guatemalan residents were charged as a result, namely 23-year-old Luis Rene Garcia Acevedo and 18-year-old Minor Eduardo Divas Cardona. Reports from a Guatemalan publication are that the 2 men were traveling in a minibus on the main road to Flores Petén when the vehicle was searched by the authorities. The report continues that the 1,920 bottles of Belikin beer found were crossed at the western border illegally, as the men had no documentation to prove otherwise. Well, our thought conditioner for today is from Mahatma Gandhi. It reads, and we quote, "You must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is like an ocean. If a few drops of the ocean are dirty, the ocean does not become dirty." This has been the Evening News on Love Television. We invite you to log on to our website at lovefm.com for transcripts of our news stories. Thank you for watching. I am Ernesto Vasquez. Good evening.